Okay, so now I need to figure out how am I going to take this and transfer it into my first sentence. So I want to make sure everything that I've kind of decided, so I want to make sure I'm going to decide on this, obviously identify, we obviously use, and then what do I want to choose for my verb? So this documentary, I'm thinking, yeah, it's informing me, it's telling me all about Jane, it's kind of explaining her life since moving to Gombe. Inform is so boring, so I'm going to choose one of these other two. It's kind of telling me about it, right? So I like tell. I'm going to just go with tell. I like that verb the best. I think that makes the most sense. So from here, I'm going to use this to make a sentence. Now, I can't just copy this word for word because it's not going to form a clear sentence. So I want to make sure that it's flowing into sentence form. So I'm going to start with, in the documentary Jane by Brett Morgan. So I'm not actually saying Jane first. I could say in Jane, the documentary by Brett Morgan, but I kind of like starting with this. So in the documentary Jane, I put that in quotation marks because it's the title of a film. If this was a short story or from our textbook, I would put it in quotation marks. But if it was a book, I would underline it. So that's all the differences there. So Jane by Brett Morgan tells, oh, that sounds weird. So I was going to write tells because that's my verb, but this sounds weird. In the documentary Jane, I don't need a comma there, by Brett Morgan tells, so do I want, oh, the documentary Jane by Brett Morgan tells, okay. So I'm going to take out this in, all right, and I'm going to capitalize my first letter because that in sounded weird. So the documentary Jane by Brett Morgan tells about Jane Goodall's, I put an apostrophe there because her life, that belongs to Jane. So I'm saying that it's called a possessive. So life belongs to Jane. So Jane Goodall's life since she moved to Gombe to study chimpanzees. Now, I don't put chimps there because chimps actually it's not a word. So I studied chimpanzees, so I put the full word there. So the documentary Jane by Brett Morgan tells about Jane Goodall's life. That sounds weird. Explains about Jane, or maybe explains Jane Goodall's life. So I'm going to actually, I don't like that anymore. Explains, because that's what it does. This sounds funny. So I'm going to say the documentary Jane by Brett Morgan explains Jane Goodall's life since she moved to Gombe to study chimpanzees. So I don't like that either. So instead of since, I'm going to put an arrow because I don't have enough space because I write so big. All right. Jane Goodall's life from when she moved to Gombe to study chimpanzees to the present. Okay? So still don't love it, but I think that sounds better. So the documentary Jane by Brett Morgan explains Jane Goodall's life from when she moved to Gombe to study chimpanzees. Oh, I don't like the present either. So I'm going to, from when she went, yep, there we go. Okay, so here's my sentence. So this is my topic sentence of my paragraph. So next, I'm going to zip over to my other side and I'm going to try to figure out how to organize the rest of my paragraph. Stay tuned, people.